Yeah.
Yo, good day, guys and ladies. We're super excited to be here in Denver, Colorado. Rod and I jumped on a plane yesterday to check out the Bigfoot Academy and, of course, meet with training legend Jason Rose. So we're super excited. And you know that guy on the far end?
Yeah, it's a smiley bald guy. So Jason, this is kind of fun, and we've been talking about doing this a lot. We wanted people to kind of highlight the Rupes Academy, and it's really cool because we got to split two severely different types of things. So
Yeah.
talk about what yesterday's culmination was.
Yeah, and I first want to say I appreciate you guys being here. I really like that you came and visited, and you did show up partially through our 3-day master sanding and polishing class. And you got to see the stuff going on and that fabulous car.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing. I wish we would have been here Monday morning to see that car actually roll in.
Yeah.
Because the evolution, the transition that car went through from yesterday morning when we got here till we rolled it out of the garage was just amazing.
Yeah, it was a freshly painted car, less than a week old paint. And, you know, there was texture and, you know, dirt nibs and fish eyes and runs and sags. And I mean, we had the full assortment of defects to go after. It was really the perfect specimen for that class.
Yeah, because they kind of got their hands on everything. There was a lot of, I mean, it was an older car, like a 68 Coronet. So there's a lot of radius curves that are curved both directions. Like the quarter of this car was literally a super radius on the outside and then a smaller radius going towards the front. But you got that, you got to feel what it was like to have a really hard edge next to a dual radius, which is incredibly difficult to both sand and polish. But so that was a master detailing class in sanding specifically.
Yeah, that particular class, and we have a variety of different classes we offer at the Academy, as you know, but that particular one is just a deep dive into sanding and ultra fine level. So we're every square inch of every panel, and it's edge work to the max. You know, it's really nitpicky, getting it really dialed in. It's the only class that we do of that style. Collision repair procedures. We have a 1-day sanding and polishing class for detailers that's more of everyday kind of sanding and polishing. And then we have our 2-day distributor training. So we bring our distributors in and train them.
I was talking to Jeffrey yesterday from the Philippines, and he said, I asked him when he was going home, expecting him maybe to go home today or the next day. He goes, oh, no, I'm actually staying for the training next week.
Right.
I'm like, oh, you're really investing in your business. And I love talking to him. He goes, yeah, I'm investing in my business, but I'm investing in my community. I love that he said that because he's like, look, I was an electrical engineer. I worked in the corporate world for a long time. And then, you know, I started detailing on the side, and now it's grown to this point where I want to have an impact on other people in the industry where I live. And it was really fun discussion with him yesterday.
Yeah, they're really great people. You mentioned Jeffrey, he's one of the members of the Philippine contingency coming from our Rupes team in the Philippines, and they're our exclusive importer for Rupes to the whole country of the Philippines. And they're here. They took the master class. They wanted to experience that because the trainer from that team plans in the future to implement the master class that we did here this week. They want to do that class in the Philippines.
Okay,
that's fun.
So it's more like a train the trainer, which is fabulous. And I think that's something that's really unique about you guys, because the last time we were here, you guys were just finishing up the body shop thing. It was a lot more of the pneumatic type of tools, and the sanders and the palm sanders, and this was more focused on the detailing side of things and the DA side of polishing. Yeah. So then today, which is really cool, because today you're starting off with, there's an IDA certification event that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And again, Jeffrey and Michael
Jeffrey and Michael are here.
Masterclass are also here to do their SV.
Yeah, so the team from the Philippines is doing multiple things while they're here. So they did the master class. They're doing IDA certification today. Next week they're doing our 2-day distributor training because they are a distributor and they've been fully trained already. But
Right.
they wanted to see how we do our distributor training, and that's why they're here. But in the master class, in addition to the Filipinos, we had people from all over, Trinidad and Tobago,
Yeah.
Caribbean island out there. Who would have thought? There's a bunch
Yeah.
of detailers on
Yeah.
the island. And then we had a local Colorado guy. We had a
Guy from New Mexico,
Hawaii.
Hawaii. Yeah.
right.
And two of the guys had just come off of other trainings as well. So they're heavily invested in just internally self-training so that they can better their shop and their employees that they work with and all that, which I see that as a big trend in the detailing industry, is taking back that knowledge to a bigger team so that it can kind of up the game of everybody.
Right.
And I know that especially yesterday, sanding is one of those areas that's very intimidating for a lot of people because we're always cutting into the paint. Whenever we're doing on detailing, you're always hitting that surface. But with sanding, you are physically, literally, knowledgeably going in and knocking that surface down.
Right.
It can have fantastic or horrific effects depending on how you do it.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody that's ever sanded anything has gone through, and that's always the big fear. Oh my gosh, what if I go through? But that with the right techniques and doing it right, you're doing fabulous stuff. I know yesterday you guys got a special treat from the guy that painted, or the first day from the guy that actually painted the car, Jason. He showed the razor blade trick, which it's, you put a little bit of a curve on the razor blade and you're literally hitting a nib or a high spot with the razor blade. That is an extremely nerve-wracking thing.
It's very intimidating. I have to admit, it's not something that I've dialed in as part of my skill set, but I've seen it happen. In fact, I was on a Chip Foose car one time, and there was a defect right on a peak, right on the fender. And I was working my way to that, and I saw this thing, and I'm like, oh man, it's this big old bump in the clear coat right there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I do not want to be the one that burns through this car. So I said, Chip, what do you do with that? And he just got his razor blade out. I think he had it in his ear. Like he pulled it out of here. And he's like scraping along, and I'm sweating just watching him. I'm like, I would never take a blade to that, but he did it like it was nothing.
Yeah.
It's amazing how I think a lot of times people, as they're building their skills, right, there comes a point where you are naturally intimidated, right? And taking that leap can be petrifying, right? But then to have somebody come in that is an absolute master, make it look easy. One, it's intimidating, but two, it's inspiring.
You're like, oh, well, he did it. I can learn to do that.
That's one of my daughters asked me once. I just finished painting a part of this car, and she came out and she goes, "How do you not freak out when you do that and think that you're going to mess it up?" And I go, I think it's a lack of. It's not just a lack of fear, but it's the confidence that I can do this, and if I do it wrong, I can fix it. It's not. Everything's fixable. Even if that means sanding it completely back down and going
start over.
But I think anything is fixable, and knowing that is what is worth half the battle. And having that fear, I don't think that the fear is a bad thing. Having a fear that if you take a razor blade to paint, that's a good thing, because it helps you from going too deep.
That's a healthy fear. And you mentioned sanding. There's a lot of detailers that just don't do sanding because when the average detailer says or thinks of the word sanding, we park in our brain a procedure that represents the most aggressive thing we could think of doing on paint, right?
Yep.
But the reality is that there's been advancements in sandpaper and sanding technology where that is no longer accurate. So there are sanding products now that are actually very safe to use and very easy to use. And if you compare them to removing heavy defects with a rotary and a aggressive wool pad and aggressive compound, the invasiveness on the paint is actually less with this new sanding technology. So there's traditional ways that people go after really heavy defects that we've been doing for decades. But now with this new sanding technology, you're able to get that job done much safer. But it is sanding. So when you think there's different types of sanding.
Yeah.
My point is we want to educate people that when you think about sanding, some of it is and should be in a healthy way perceived as scary. Because 36 grit disc on paint.
Oh my gosh.
You'll make a DeLorean out of that car. But then there's, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 8,000 grit foam disc that is not scary.
Yes.
So,
and I think that is you mentioned the perfect thing there is that there are different types of sanding. If you're sanding on filler primer over the top of bare metal, there's a little more pressure.
Yeah.
There's a little different. The goal is different. You're trying to absolutely cut through multiple layers, whereas finish sanding is totally different. It's a lighter touch. You are literally cutting the nibs and the top layer of that and just leveling off the surface of that clear coat, and you're not trying to go through. The goal is not to go through.
Yeah.
So, and some of the technologies are fantastic. I mean, anybody that's never actually used a DA to sand, you're spending a lot of time and burning through a lot of fingers. When you don't have to do that. You can be very light to the touch. A 3-inch DA, like you guys showing in the classes, is a fabulous thing. So
I think one of the things that impressed me too was something that happened at the end of the day yesterday. And you guys at the beginning of the week had this 3x3 piece of paper, and you had asked the students what their goals were for the week. And you had listed every single thing that they wanted to learn and discover or improve. And as you were reviewing that, every single one of those items got hit. And I think that's important, because I think a lot of times when people come to a training, the training for the most part is very rigid and structured, but you guys have built a training system that enables you to tap into the real needs and desires of the people coming, and it enables them to walk away with goals fulfilled.
And I'm excited that you noticed that, because it's one of the unique things that the Rupes Academy offers. So I've been to other training classes and I've seen other trainers in action. And I really believe the unique thing that we do, our team, is that there's no two classes ever the same. And like you said, there's basic outline, there's a basic agenda. We have a list of topics that for whatever class we want to check those boxes, like we want to cover those. But we always do this interview at the beginning, and what our feedback that we got from our students and the people that experience our training is that was something they appreciated, that somebody stopped and asked them, what specifically. I mean, I know you go to a sanding class, and obviously you want to learn sanding technique and things like that. But what specifically do you want to do with that skill? What is it you want to do?
And I think that interview at the beginning actually gets people to realize, because I don't think when you go into a training, like you sign up for training, you're like, oh yeah, I want to go learn this. But I don't think people consciously go, what are my goals in this training? What do I want to take away from this?
What is the application?
We did a one-day training once, and it was on a really aggressive fender that had a run. It was a repaint. We didn't know that. And we looked at it and we realized it was a repaint. There was a run on this radius fender, and it was something that personally scared me. And so I said, if you don't mind, I want that section. And they're like, you told us that scared you. Why do you want to do it? I said, because my goal is to get over that fear and to take on this thing that scares me, because I don't want it to scare me. I don't think that kind of a radius should scare somebody.
So then did you take your razor blade out of your
ear? I took my razor blade out of my ear.
Cutting away?
But no, and it was good, because that's at the end of that, I felt very accomplished, because I was like, okay, I achieved what I wanted, and that gives you a goal for that. So I think that's one big thing as we focus on training is go into it with goals. What do you want to take away from it, and not just not just necessarily I want that certification or I want that piece of paper hanging on the wall. It's like what skills do you want to take away from it? And
very good.
Sometimes it's that I want to learn how to use this new polisher and what's the difference between a DA and a gear driven or a rotary. There's a lot of people that don't know how to handle a rotary and wouldn't know the value of that. Well, if you talk to boat guys, they want that rotary because they want it further away from the surface and they want to really get that heavy cut on the gel coat.
Right.
So today you got certifications or SVs, and which is a unique animal in itself. We're gonna be able to do some videos, but we're gonna hang way back because we don't want to spoil that. So we'll kind of get the idea of the one-on-one. When I did my SV, primary person doing that was Levi Gates at the Rag Company, and I really appreciated. He's got a very similar demeanor, very calm and kind of approachable. But it's not as scary as you think, and I think that people need to go into it with the expectation there is to hone your skills that you already should know. And just to test your knowledge of the things you've already been doing. There's nothing you shouldn't already know.
Well, I want to actually take a moment to educate on that. So the IDA certification, the Rupes Academy does this minimally quarterly. We offer both levels of certification. Today, we didn't happen to get any CD registrations, but we did get the skills validated. But like you said, the one thing I just want to tell listeners and viewers here that if you're thinking about doing the certification and you're intimidated by tests, which I am personally, I don't test well. I don't like doing tests.
Yeah.
But the one thing to understand about the way the IDA has set up these particular tests is they are to validate the minimum knowledge and skills needed to detail a car. Mm-hmm. So it's not validating that you're a master level detailer and that you're an expert at detailing. It doesn't even validate that you're a business person and you know how to run a detail shop. All it does is, do you know the minimum stuff needed to detail a car?
Yeah.
So most of the guys and gals that are taking this test, it's very basic for them. And you don't know that until you get into it, but that's what the test is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also it's a legitimization. I see this a lot when it comes to the IDA and the certifications, both the CD and the SV. People are like, well, what's the value of that? Well, every organization out there, electricians, plumbers, truck drivers, mechanics, everybody has a certification process. And industries, to be legitimized, have to have that kind of that minimum standard of knowledge that you know what you need to do to take care of this. And I think that it's one of those things that it does make a difference. I've seen people walk into a shop, see a certification on the wall, and they feel better that they're going to a shop that has a certified detailer.
Yeah.
You don't have a doctor work on you that isn't certified in medicine. You don't have an electrician come in that is not a certified electrician. And so it's just kind of something that I think people need to do, and to feel that accomplishment that you've actually gone through that test. Testing is a lot of anxiety for a lot of people.
Right.
But it's literally just saying, okay, you as an RT know that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You can trust that I can go out and do this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very valuable skill. It's a feather in your cap, but it's also something that legitimizes you as a business owner. So
the other thing to educate on, because this is a little bit confusing for some people, but you mentioned RIT, so there's a recognized independent trainer, RIT, and that is somebody that IDA has just designated and authorized to implement the test. Mm-hmm. And it happens to be a recognized training person in the industry, so that the proctors that are doing the test are not just anybody that doesn't know detailing. They're experts in the industry. They are doing training, and they're authorized by IDA to do the test, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, the confusing part is that some people think that when they sign up for a class for certification, there could be two pieces to it. One is the education piece, and the other is the actual test. And this is where it gets confusing, because the IDA as an organization, they do not provide training to detailers. They do education through webinars and things like that. But the IDA itself doesn't provide training. But the RIT could actually put on a class and prepare you to take the test.
Right.
And that is education, but it's done by an independent trainer and not the IDA. So it's a little tricky, you know. When I do it here at the academy, I'm like switching hats, and oh look, I'm wearing my Rupes jacket, but I also have the IDA shirt. So when I do the test, I take this off. I'm not branded Rupes, and now I'm implementing the test.
Yeah.
Because I'm a representative of the IDA.
Right.
Yep.
So there's two different parts of this. And some people think I'm going to sign up for an IDA class, you know, a class on certification. And there's those two pieces. The education part is by an individual trainer, and then you're going to take the test from the IDA.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's I think the RTs, every one of them that I've ever met, are serious enough about it that they do that. They literally put on a different hat.
Yes,
this is an IDA thing. You're getting certified as a, you know, your skills are being validated, and they take off that whatever brand they're wearing. I think back to the one I was talking about at the rag company, and I had somebody, you know, you got Keith Duplessis, Levi Gates, and Sydney. They're all three different companies, but at that point in time, they were all IDA. It was not about the other companies that they represented. So I think that's what's important. I'm somebody that believes in education forever. I mean, it's just, you know, it's something you constantly are learning. You always do. The next time something comes out, the other piece of that we will mention from yesterday is that you guys were very kind in having a new product that they were able to use.
Yeah.
Don't be Todd.
Anytime there is an advancement in a product, you are learning, because it's a different way to do it. It doesn't matter from the first time that the first compound came out to the next one that comes out, or the next advancement. We are always one or two advancements away from really
changing the game.
Industry.
The next game changer. Yeah,
it's fun.
And we don't know what the next thing is going to be, right? It could be anything. So,
well, we want to be cognizant of your time. So you've been training for 3 days. Now you're doing SV. We want to thank you for giving us a little bit of your time this morning. So, I mean, you guys have ongoing training all the time.
Yep.
So how do people get connected with the Rupes training team and get signed up?
Globally, since some of your viewers might be in other countries, Rupes as a company, we have, you know, two different headquarters, two different training academies. So in Europe, it's rupes.com. In the United States, it's rupesusa.com. And by going to those websites, you can see the training schedules and sign up for classes.
Yeah, guys, Rod and I watching these guys, I'm telling you, it is worth the investment of time and money to come. You will walk away a better detailer, but you also walk away a better business owner. So we highly recommend. Thank you guys so much for tapping in. We'll give Hiram a little shout. What do you say? Junior's the man. What? Man number one. Jason Rhodes.
So stay tuned, because we're going to be doing some other stuff today, just highlighting some other stuff that goes on here at Rupes, and we'll be releasing some of those testimonials of people that were in the sanding course, so you can hear from them without Jason in the room of what they actually think about the training. and I'll spoiler alert, every one of them is
everyone
they
loved
sign
it,
up again tomorrow. So we're going to be putting those out there, and then Jody and I will be doing some other stuff here throughout the day.
So have a great day, and we'll check you in next week. Thanks again, Jason.
Yep, my pleasure.
See ya.